Alright guys, today we're going to talk about Holochain offline payment domination. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss how payment systems work right now. And don't worry, I'm going to break it down to you so that even if you don't know anything about payments other than swiping your credit card, you're going to get this. You're going to get the back end of how this entire credit card system work, or debit card system, whatever payment system you choose to use. And then we're going to take a look at how Holochain can really disrupt the payment system such that we take banks out of the equation. So sit tight, watch this entire video, because what we have right now is, let's face it, Holochain is still just a vision. Until they have something out on production where real users can use it, they don't really have much so far. So everything's kind of proof of concept except for the vision, which I'm trying to explain to you through these Holochain videos. And if you haven't checked out my Holochain guide, then I really suggest you check that out because it tells you everything that you need to know about Holochain. So other than that, if you haven't already, please be sure to smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and now let's get into it. Alright, let's start off with NFCs. No, not NFTs, but NFCs, Near Field Communication. It is a method of wireless data transfer that allows smartphones, laptops, tablets, and other devices to share data when they're in close proximity. NFC technology powers contactless payments via mobile wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, as well as contactless cards. So yeah, when you tap your credit card on a POS terminal when you're out doing a checkout, that is NFC. So when the terminal and your payment device, whether it be your phone or your credit card, are close together and activated, there's actually an exchange of data from the NFC chips which completes the payment. And NFC chips uses an RFID frequency of 13.56 megahertz, and it only works when both are at really close proximity within each other. Now when we talk about payments using an RFID, that is really seen as online because you're using a point of sale machine and that is connected to the internet. Alright, what about offline? So what counts as offline? So when you make a payment or a transaction without a data connection, or where the transaction is recorded offline to be processed at a later date, that is offline. And something cool that I learned about are sliding credit card imprinters. I've never seen them before, but apparently they still exist, used in some rural areas where they have frequent internet downtime. The real question we have to answer is, who really needs offline payments? Let's be real, most of us probably live in a big city that is stable. We have stable internet connection and stable electricity, and we have zero issues using NFC with our Google Pay or Apple Pay, with our devices, with our watches, and etc. So for most of us, offline payments is really not a big deal. But the thing with taking NFC payments is that they're actually really expensive to get started and set up with. Now, as technology gets better, the price of POSs and NFCs gets lower, but it is still limiting. Also, let's say you live in a rural area and you have really poor internet connection. That's going to pose a problem. Or you live in a third world country that doesn't even have electricity. There's no way you're going to get that to work. So let's talk about how Holochain spins this. So Holochain operates on a model of agent centricity, which is based on the DHT, or distributed hash tables. And no, Holochain is not blockchain. Agent-centric can be analogous to customer or client-centric. And that's the preferred strategy for many businesses, to put the customer first. That's Amazon's main way of doing business. Now with Holochain, the term agent-centric covers pretty much all walks of life and industry, meaning that the technology underpinning design really puts you or the end user first above all. Holochain is architecture for building and cloud hosting many different kinds of applications. You can build digital currencies, it is open sourced, and it is free for anyone to build on. Now let's say that right now you make a payment with credit or debit. What happens is that the bank's EFT POS, electronic fund transfer at point of sale, will digitally speak to the bank saying that Donald wants to buy lunch for $10. I swipe or tap my card and maybe enter a PIN on the POS terminal, and the bank looks at my balance to see if I have enough funds if I'm using a debit card, or to see if I have enough credit if I'm using a credit card. And if I do, then the transaction is approved. I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'm learning something new. But basically what happens is the retailer talks to the bank and the bank talks back, saying whether or not they can do this deal or not. Now, what if the retailer, being in a rural area, has his internet down all day? Now, I don't carry cash and I really only pay with card. And this retailer in this rural area doesn't have one of those old card swiping machines because he doesn't believe in that. What usually happens is that there's not going to be any sale. Okay, guys, I just want to take a quick pause to show you how I learned about cryptos. When I didn't know anything about cryptos, I got started with IM Academy. And there are some people that don't like them, but there's a lot of people that like them. And you can see here on my screen that they have hours hours upon hours of lives. They actually have the instructor come on a live session with you to teach you about indicators and how to trade and how to read the markets, what points to look at, things like that. See that for some of the days, they actually have like 3 hours, which is actually most of the days, of content, of lives with you. And beyond that, if they don't have lives, you can actually go to the instructors and watch their favorite sessions, and you can see that they record their sessions so that you can learn while they're not having a live with you. Then please send me an email at support@coursehack.club, and I'll see you in IM Academy. Alright, so let's finally talk about Holochain taking offline payments. So if the banks create an application on Holochain, then you can do offline payments. And that's assuming you have electricity but no internet. I'll be able to pay for my items without the bank's verification of existing funds on my account, because my fund status is already verified. But how do they do that? It is because it is verified by hundreds, if not thousands, of other accounts, other peers, other users using the same application. And this is DHT, distributed hash table, in the works, because when the banks uses this technology, it uses cryptographic signatures, peer validation, and random gossip to randomly validate everyone's state or funds who are using the application. So let's use another example. Let's say that I had $100 and I spent 50 of those dollars. The software will randomly gossip my transaction to a randomly selected number of peers or people or users of the same application. And if you're worried about security, then there's no need to worry, because this information is encrypted and there's no identifying information about you during this gossip process. All they know is that there's this big gigantic ledger and XXX amount of money is going from this account to that account, from this address to that address. One account is credited and another account is debited. It is confirmed, and all this information is stored on the DHT, or distributed hash table. So my balance is really verified by all these people on the application in the background. So the merchant can take my $10 payment for Domino's pizza. Like, Domino's pizza costs $10. It probably costs like $30 after all the inflation that we're happening right now. But the merchant can take my $10 Domino's payment because my account is validated by peers. So even if I'm offline, my fund status is validated. The question you might have right now is, okay, how can you spend money if you're offline? And if the merchant is offline? Well, the last checked status when I was online of my fund status account is $10. There was $10 in my account. That was the last known state, and knowing that, the transaction will go through because it knows that I have at least $10 in my account. Now, if my last valid state was less than $10, then the transaction will be denied. So right now you might be thinking, alright, but what if you try to hack the system? Try to hit as many places, buy as many things before you go back online. Because if you only had $50 in your account and you spent $10 at 10 stores, that's $100, and throughout all that time you're offline, that is a hack, that is a loophole. How do you go past that? Well, I'm not completely certain on the details because I've never programmed in Holochain yet. But if the merchant goes back online before you do, he will be able to gossip about your transaction to the rest of the peers on the network. He'll be able to tell everybody that we made this deal to thousands of people on the network. So I'm thinking that if your last valid state was $10, but the consensus, everybody else, the thousands of peers on the network says you don't have $10, then that transaction will probably be denied. Anyways, the moment either I or the merchant go back online, both of us will gossip about the transactions that we made while we were offline, and all our peers on the DHT will know about it. So we can really see that Holochain applications really have a lot of scaling capabilities, as it operates kind of like BitTorrent. The more seeders or leechers that you have, the faster it becomes. That means that the more people that uses it, the more faster it becomes. Now imagine YouTube or Twitter using this. With all the content that they host, that they serve, it is really, really expensive to do that. But if they operated on Holochain, then those costs will drop exponentially. So here's the grand vision. With Holochain, at some point, it is technically possible to get rid of POS terminals all at once, because you can just transact via cell phone to cell phone or cell phone to tablet or something like that. In addition, when you host, you can choose your own host, which is attractive to governments, because let's say a foreign government, let's say India, ran their site on AWS or Amazon Web Services, which is an American company. And the USA can get whatever data they want from that Indian company, which could be a government service that is running on AWS. So using Holo to host is way more secure and private than the centralized options that we have today that are Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. Basically, if you were the Indian government, you would rather have your own Indian citizens hosting the network for you, hosting your own data, rather than a foreign government that might be able to get that data. Alright guys, so that's all I got for today. I'm going to drop the link to this article that I referenced in the pinned comments below, so take a look at that because they have some really neat examples to explain how this really all works more in depth. But if you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed me talking about the vision of Holochain and payments, then please smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, check out these other videos on cryptocurrencies and passive income, and I'll see you next time. Peace.